everybody. We're excited to unveil a new initiative with the high school division of the American Choral Directors, and this is our high voltage recharge. And basically, what we seek to do here is we seek to electrify, power up, and inspire your teaching through conversations with practicing senior high school directors. I'm the American Choral Directors National Chair for Senior High, Nathan Dame, and we are basically like your AirPods. We want to charge them up 15 minutes and hopefully be good to go. We do a lot of things as choir directors, and we don't have a lot of time to plug in during the school year. So we hope we can use this tool to be an audio for your drive or just something kind of going on the side there where you're on your conference period or whenever you need motivation as a choir director. Today's guest is Sarah Kane, and she is coming to us from the state of Rhode Island. We're the small state, but big hearts. So we're very excited. Thanks for joining us, Sarah.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
So I'm going to start off with the awesome question of why do you love teaching high school choir?
Such a loaded question. My goodness. I adore teaching high school. I think that high schoolers are first and foremost. I think they're fun. I have a lot of fun with my students. And I think that there's this kind of limitless potential with them that you can just, if you give them the right tools, they can just soar and create so much beauty and so many meaningful performances. So I adore teaching high school. I think it's wonderful.
I love that so much. So can we zoom in a little bit to your specific school? Will you tell us where you teach and what maybe a typical day looks like for you in the classroom?
Absolutely. So I teach at Narragansett High School, which is a very small school in southern Rhode Island. Our population for the school is about 450 in the entire school, so it's very very tiny. And a typical day is a little non-traditional for me. My schedule, I teach officially a .8 schedule. Of like chorus and music electives. And then I'm .2 of my job is being the theater director for the high school and the middle school in my district. So a typical day would look like going in a little bit later, so second period, and we have a block called task that meets between first and third period. It's kind of a shorter block, and that would be my first thing of the day. And that's a time when students can meet with teachers for extra help, interventions, that kind of thing, meetings, and we do a lot of rehearsals in that period. So all state prep or my treble choir sometimes meets during that block. So that would be my first block of the day. Then I teach several electives, so music theory, musical theater, singing class, music appreciation, piano class, any of those. And then I have a section of chorus, like a come one and all chorus that meets during the day. And then my school has this really interesting and kind of unique thing where we offer some classes after the school day that still count as classes. So I teach a section of regular concert chorus that meets immediately following the day, Monday through Thursday, for about 45 minutes, and students get credit for that. So that's kind of a blessing because students who can't fit it in their schedule are able to take it immediately after school. And then after that, if it's a theater day for me, I go to theater. So it's a little non-traditional. There's a lot of after school stuff, but it really works because I am able to kind of pull students in through the year and have that kind of extra block in the morning to help facilitate kids being in the program.
I love that. It sounds like you have a lot of preps though that you have to do throughout the year and things to juggle. So
Yeah.
we'll get to that in a second about how to work through that. But I'm going to go to what is like our high voltage rapid fire section. So talk to me about one of your favorite, like the kids are coming in. How do you get them on your side and get that buy-in and focus and maybe like a team building activity to get your kids excited about singing?
Yeah, so I actually don't really do a lot of team building activities in the rehearsal. I'm not anti team building or anything like that. I just don't really tend to do it. I like to start rehearsal like right away with warm ups and the McCloskey technique, like face massage. I think that helps to just kind of focus them and get them settled. But in terms of like winning kids over, I just try to be myself as much as possible. And I'm awkward and, like just like a high schooler at heart. So I just try to be really real with them and they really seem to respond and react to that. And then once I was there for a few years and kind of built up a culture, and the kids themselves do that for the newcomers because it's such a small school that like culture of being like a little family, and welcoming new people in is really strong because it's the same kids that I see over and over again. I'm the only director of my school. There's not, the chorus only has about 40 kids in it. So it's
Okay.
not a big thing. So yeah.
Okay. So you've gotten them excited. They're getting to know you. So talk to us in a mixed setting, mixed SATB. What warm ups do you find that really helps to develop tone with your ensemble?
Sure. So I always start with a lip trill, always, because it gets the air moving, and tone is built on good breath support. So that is always my number one. And then after that, I usually go to 1 3 5 3 1, ya you ya you ya, and that is really helpful because the ah vowel can be so difficult to unify and so difficult to get students to understand how to build that vowel in a tall way. So just starting with that straight off the bat and kind of perfecting the ah vowel and the oo vowel right away. I think just that plus breath support builds tone. My What I find a lot with my students is that sometimes they start to sing, like they'll get the tall vowel thing, they'll get the breath support thing, and then all of a sudden it's really far back. So adding in something with an NG can also help to really build the tone once they've gotten the vowels and the support, and they just need to kind of pull it forward a little.
So do you teach the vowels through the off first and then shift to oo, or are they kind of simultaneous?
I would say simultaneous. Yeah.
Okay.
I do a big focus on tone and vowels. It's kind of what I try to hone in on, especially at the beginning of the year. And yeah, I just find that the ah vowel just has the most variation among students.
I love that. So what would you say if I got a chance to meet any of your students? What is the warm up that they want to sing over and over again?
That's such a fun question. I think that I would totally have an answer for you for theater warm-ups. They have like some specific ones they love. And for
Yeah,
chorus,
let's talk on that. Yeah.
yeah. So I do like the one, 2 3 4 5 5 4 3 2 1 1 5 4 5 3 5, and then do it on solfege and ABCs. They like love that. You start slow and get faster and faster and faster. They're obsessed. My middle schoolers and my high schoolers. But but for chorus, I think they actually really love the ya you ya warm up because we start with lip trills and then we go directly to that. So it's the first time they like open up and sing together for the day, and that when it's really unified and sounds really beautiful, I think they really love that. But I don't tend to do a lot of mm, like fun. I know it sounds bad.
Yeah, no, 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 I
Warm up.
get it.
But I do, especially towards the beginning of the year, do a lot of rounds, and they love the rounds no matter what they are. There is one called Benji Met the Bear. I don't know if you're
Oh,
familiar.
okay. No, I don't know that.
It's really funny. Just look into it. That one's a really good
Okay.
one for high schoolers. It's a little off color, so it's fun.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's a delicate balance in teaching rounds for high school because you have to find some content that they can really buy into while also those musical skills. So I really want to look that one up for sure. Thank you
Yeah,
for
it's
that one.
funny.
I love this kind of opportunity because I get to grow as a teacher as well, getting a chance to talk to you. So you've got a small campus, a smaller program, but so with the small number of students that are there, it's really important for you to be able to create a chorus that's sizable for you to recruit and retain students.
Mhm.
Have you found any techniques, especially for a smaller high school such as yourselves, that is helpful in recruiting and retaining students?
Yeah, so I've tried some of the more like gimmicky kind of things, like sending emails like you've been recommended to join chorus, and I haven't really found that a lot of that stuff has really worked. Although I'm sure it works for some people, and some programs. At our school, everyone does everything. So all of my kids are also in band and are varsity athletes and kind of do everything. So their time is super limited. But the best recruiting tool that I found is the other students. Once you can get kids say, like just to say join chorus, if they hear it enough and they get kind of invited in by the other students, that's I found to be absolutely the number one recruiting tool. And in terms of retention, I think I'm really into the like intrinsic motivation piece of it and kind of building something of beauty together and feeling that achievement together. And that's the reason they do it. So we offer a lot of performance opportunities, um, and a lot of like student leadership opportunities. And I think that's what really keeps them in. And then of course, like individual attention. Like I get to spend a lot of time with them each, like not necessarily one on one, but I get to really get to know them. They eat lunch in my classroom, that kind of thing. I feel like that's really important in terms of even recruiting. I've had kids who they are friends with chorus students. They come eat lunch in my room, and then all of a sudden they're in chorus. So I think very little of it has to do with students who are good at singing or students who even love singing, and more about building relationships.
Absolutely. You know, they're there to be kids first and musicians second, is what I say.
Yeah.
All right, let's hop into just the little rapid fire back into this. Can you go with three of your all-time favorites that we like to call choir crack? Okay, so like the songs that the kids keep on singing and always remember.
Yeah. So I couldn't pick like because I have a treble chorus and a mixed chorus. So I
Oh,
couldn't pick
please,
like three.
yeah, go ahead.
Can I do three for each? Is that
Yes,
okay?
please.
Okay, so for mixed, the first piece that I did with my first year teaching festival season that was like choir crack is called All Too Soon by Stephen Hatfield. It's really accessible. It's SATB, but the tenor and bass parts don't split too much, and the range is like fairly limited. It's actually like I think officially a middle school piece,
Okay.
but it's such my students call it a jam. It's such a jam. It's so fun. I did it my first year and actually repeated it this year because it was a special piece and we had kind of a special group this year. Um, Absolutely love it. That one, The Wind That Shakes the Barley by Dan Davidson. So fun. So like my students request to sing it over and over and over again. They loved it so much. And that one can be sung with like an Irish accent. Super.
Ooh.
You can like do the hard R in barley. Nothing gives them more, I think, of a feeling of power than singing a hard R. I don't know.
Uh,
um, and then my third one would be like any historical rep that you think they might not like. So a few years ago, we did Libera Me from the Foray Requiem, and I was like, oh, we need to do a piece of historical rep, and they just like loved it. They just sunk right into it. And we did the same thing with Rejoice in the Lamb, the Britain Rejoice in the Lamb this year, and it was just like stuff that's challenging, but like they just love to sink into it. So my third for mixed would be some kind of historical rep like that. And
okay.
then for a treble, um, Will the Circle Be Unbroken by Moore. If you have alto twos that have low E's, it's the best ever. It's so fun to sing. And then my second one would be Songbird by Sarah Quartel. Super fun and very accessible as well. And then third for treble would be High Flight by Karen Robinson. I just did that with my kids this year and they were obsessed with it. A bunch of them said it was their favorite piece they had ever sung in chorus ever. And they just wanted to do it all the time. So yeah, so those are my picks.
All right. So what excites you about a piece that you might be performing this fall if you've gotten a chance to look at that?
Yeah, I actually haven't programmed anything at all for this fall.
That's
Um,
okay.
Yeah, I had a really amazing group of seniors leave last year, and there were a lot of them, and so I'm not really not that I'm not sure what I'm getting. I know the upperclassmen. We have a lot of new students in chorus this year, so I'm gonna wait. I think start the beginning of the year with some canons, some rounds, just kind of get them
Great.
singing, and then assess, especially for my tenors and basses. Last year, I actually had like just baritones. Like I didn't have any
Wow.
real basses or any real tenors. So we did SAB rep, which I usually would never do. But they were very strong as a baritone section. So I have to wait and see, I think, what I have this year before I pick anything. But there's a lot of good rep out there that I really want to do.
All right. You got your stack right there of
Yeah,
someday, right? That's
absolutely.
awesome. So, some of the teachers that we have that will hopefully be getting a chance to watch our interview are new and looking for tools for success. So, look back on your younger self a little bit, and what would you tell your younger self going into the choral profession?
Man, I would say that you can't be like a seasoned professional without a few years under your belt. And so I feel like I wanted my teacher persona to be there right away, but it just takes time in your own classroom. So I would encourage new teachers and college students to just like build up their skills as much as they can, try to get every crumb of knowledge from everywhere that they possibly can, and then write it down in a notebook, write everything down, and that way you can revisit it and pick from there to see what you need. But that like Rome isn't built in a day, and it takes time to sink in. It takes time to be to build what you want to build.
Gotcha. Thank you for that advice. It's something we all continue to grow with. I feel like this is year 16 for me, and I feel like I've learned maybe what not to do, but I'm still learning what to do.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely, 100%.
So, Sarah, you've got a lot of preps, a lot of hats that you wear. How do you balance all of that and still have a life outside of school?
It is certainly challenging. If you ask my wife, she would say that she is work to live and I am live to work. So I love my job. I absolutely adore it. Sometimes like too much. Sometimes I'm in work mode too much. But I had a baby last summer, and so that really this year has been a transition of really balancing home and work for the first time and not just being able to kind of throw myself into work. And it is really, really challenging. I would say, for anyone who's needing advice to try to do as much as you can in advance in terms of work, and then just like work hard at work and then leave it and then come home. I know
Yeah.
that's really, really hard, especially for choir directors. We have so many obligations outside of school, and it's hard not to, wake up in the middle of the night and be thinking about, I don't know, for me, it's theater. The set isn't painted yet or whatever. But it definitely, to try to make that boundary really clear, I think is the best way to do it.
All right. And so, last question before we wrap up. It's just been such a pleasure to get to know you. We're all inspired by amazing directors like you. But my question is maybe who inspires you? Who do we need to talk to next that really have you've learned a lot from and that you look to for inspiration?
There are, wow, so many people that I have been inspired by. One would be Dr. Christine Noel from the Rhode Island Children's Choir, who I learned basically everything I know from her. But another young director that I totally respect and absolutely would say everyone needs to hear something from her. Her name is Rebecca Saltzman, and she's from Simsbury High School. We did our MME together at Florida State, and she's a trailblazer. She's definitely on the forefront of choral education, and I think everyone can learn something from her for sure.
I love that. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us and for being our very first person. And so we wish you all the best this school year and thank you for your expertise and your wisdom.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.